Getting in was hard, but staying in? That's where most people fail. Quietly. You're already ahead of 99%. You stacked in silence. You moved without hype. You saw it before they believed it. But now comes the test no one talks about. Can you protect your position? Without noise, without panic, without slipping back into the crowd? Because the XRP Rich List doesn't keep everyone. It watches. It waits. And when you lose focus, it lets you go. So this episode isn't for beginners. It's for the few who've already stepped in, but don't want to step out without knowing why. And if you listen until the end, I'll give you the exact mindset shift that protects not just your XRP, but your access. This isn't financial advice. It's something more powerful. Strategic silence. Let's go. Part 1. Entry was the test. Now comes ownership. Making it in felt like the goal, didn't it? You saw what others couldn't. You moved early. You stacked in silence while the noise laughed at you. That moment, when you realized you were no longer watching from the outside, but standing inside the XRP Rich List, it felt like a win. And it was. But that was just the test. Entry shows vision, but ownership? That shows maturity, because getting in proves you can see it, but staying in proves you can carry it. You've crossed the threshold. Now you must protect the room you entered, not with hype, not with defense, but with posture, with patience, with quiet decisions that no one ever claps for, but that shape everything. Because once you're in, the question changes. It's no longer, do I believe in XRP? It becomes, do I have the discipline to keep building quietly even after the doors are open? That's ownership, and that's where this journey really begins. Part 2. The XRP Rich List doesn't keep everyone. Here's what no one tells you. Just because you got in doesn't mean you'll stay in. The XRP Rich List isn't a lifetime pass. It's not a trophy on a shelf. It's not something you join once and forget. It's a living filter. It watches. It observes. And when you drift, when you chase the noise again, when you start listening to the wrong voices, it lets you go, quietly. No alarm, no warning. You'll still have XRP in your wallet, but not in your mindset. You'll still be here technically, but mentally, you've exited. Because this list isn't about what you hold. It's about how you hold yourself. It doesn't care about your past decisions. It's focused on your present discipline. And that's why most don't stay. Because staying requires more than belief. It requires alignment. Daily, quiet, intentional. So if you think you've made it, remember this. The XRP Rich List doesn't keep everyone. It keeps those who keep themselves. Part 3. Distraction is the new danger. It won't be a crash that knocks you out. It won't be the FUD. It won't be the SEC. It'll be the slow drift into distraction. Because once you're in, the biggest threat isn't losing your bags, it's losing your focus. You start peeking at new coins, start following loud voices again, start wondering if you're missing out, even when you're already in the position others are still chasing. That's the trap. Distraction disguised as curiosity. It doesn't hit all at once. It shows up in small detours, small exceptions, small justifications. Until one day, you're no longer building silently. You're reacting publicly. You're chasing noise again. And you've quietly exited the mindset that qualified you in the first place. That's how the XRP Rich List loses people. Not through collapse, but through distraction. Because the game isn't just about entry, it's about endurance. And endurance requires ruthless clarity. So, if you feel pulled in a dozen directions right now, pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually building? And what am I letting pull me away from it? Because distraction doesn't come to shake you. It comes to seduce you. And if you're not intentional, you'll trade legacy for noise without even realizing it. Part 4. Why noise gets you kicked out. The list doesn't punish you for being wrong. It doesn't reject you for being early or late or uncertain. But it does react to noise. Because once you're inside the XRP Rich List, your greatest risk isn't what you don't know. It's what you start shouting about, without knowing why. Noise isn't volume. Noise is leakage. It's when you start sharing out of insecurity. When you post to be seen, instead of acting to stay aligned. It's when you need others to validate your conviction because deep down, you're losing it. Noise isn't just talking, it's reacting. It's panic selling. It's jumping between coins. It's asking others for a plan because you no longer trust your own. And the XRP Rich List? It notices. Because this list is built on discipline under pressure, on quiet execution, on holding your posture when the world's falling apart, and not needing the world to applaud you for it. That's why noise gets you kicked out. Not with an alert, not with a headline, you just stop qualifying. Silently, subtly, completely. So protect your silence, not as weakness, but as currency. Because in this game, noise costs access. Part 5. Discipline is more valuable than entry. Entry is proof of insight. Discipline is proof of identity. Anyone can see the opportunity once. Anyone can make the buy. Anyone can say, I'm in the XRP Rich List. But how many can stay aligned when it gets boring? When the price stalls? When nothing happens for weeks or months? Entry is a moment. Discipline is a lifestyle. The Rich List isn't impressed by how early you were. It watches how long you can hold your silence, your focus, your conviction, when no one's clapping anymore. Discipline means saying no to distractions, to noise, to ego, even to opportunities that don't match your lane. Discipline means keeping your strategy off stage, not needing attention to confirm you're doing it right. And here's the part most miss. Discipline isn't about control. It's about trust. Trusting what you committed to, long after the excitement wore off. You made it in. Good. Now prove you can stay when no one's watching. Because in the XRP Rich List, entry opens the door. But discipline decides who stays inside. Part 6. The mindset that protects your access. Once you're inside, the asset you're guarding is no longer just XRP. It's you, your thinking, your focus, your mental posture. Because access without awareness becomes leakage. And over time, leakage leads to loss. You don't lose your place on the Rich List because of one mistake. You lose it when you slowly adopt a mindset that no longer fits where you're standing. This list doesn't require perfection, but it demands alignment. That means clarity over confusion, conviction over crowd approval, focus over distraction. It means protecting what you know, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's quiet, even when no one's watching. Because this isn't about being smarter, it's about being stable. You don't need to time the top. You need to protect the frame of mind that allowed you to see the path before others believed it was real. That's the mindset that keeps you in. Not loud confidence, but quiet readiness. So protect it, like you protect your keys, like you protect your exit. Because this list doesn't honor wealth. It honors mental discipline in silence. Part 7. You don't announce what you protect. Think about it. No one walks into a bank and shouts their PIN code. No one writes their safe combination on the wall. No one live streams their security system. Because what you protect in silence. So why are you sharing your moves? Why are you broadcasting your plans? Why do you feel the need to explain your XRP conviction to people who've never done the work? The XRP Rich List isn't looking for performers. It's looking for protectors. And protectors don't shout. They don't overexpose. They don't defend what's already aligned. They shield it, because they understand something most people don't. The moment you start announcing what you should be protecting, you start leaking access. Not all at once, but slowly, in the form of distraction, external opinion, and diluted focus. You got in by trusting your quiet vision. You'll stay in by guarding it, like something sacred. So stop explaining. Stop oversharing. Stop asking the crowd to clap for a strategy they were never meant to understand. You don't announce what you protect. You just protect it, and let the results appear loud enough on their own. Part 8. Move with focus, not fear. Once you're in, the world starts testing you. Not with violence, but with distraction. Not with force, but with subtle fear. What if XRP drops again? What if you missed another coin? What if you're wrong? That's how it starts. Fear whispers. And before you realize it, you're reacting instead of building. You're hesitating instead of holding. You're chasing safety instead of staying strategic. But the XRP Rich List wasn't made for the fearful. It was built by people who knew how to move with focus, even when the world was screaming. Because fear looks for permission, but focus creates direction. Fear checks the charts every 5 minutes. Focus sticks to the long view. Fear asks, what if? Focus says, even if. So ask yourself, are you moving to avoid pain or to protect vision? Because only one of those keeps you in the room. And in this game, the ones who stay in aren't the loudest. They're the ones who keep showing up with calm hands, quiet eyes, and a mind trained to ignore panic. Move with focus, not fear, because fear makes you visible, but focus makes you undeniable. Part 9. Exit the crowd again and again. Leaving the crowd isn't a one-time decision. It's not a dramatic exit with fireworks. It's not a tweet that says, I'm done listening to the noise. No, it's quieter than that, and harder than that. Because the crowd isn't just out there, it's in here, in your feed, in your habits, in your thoughts. And every day you'll feel the pull to rejoin it, to re-explain yourself, to check what everyone else is doing, to react like they do. Fast, loud, emotional. But if you want to stay in the XRP Rich List, you have to walk away again, and again, and again. Not just once, but every time the world tries to drag you back into its rhythm. You'll be tempted to flex, tempted to jump coins, tempted to copy, but you don't. Because you remember, your wealth isn't built on attention, it's built on alignment. And alignment requires separation, not arrogance, just clarity. So you keep exiting, not to prove anything, but to protect everything. That's what staying in the Rich List really means. You don't just leave the crowd once, you leave it every day. Part 10. You've earned it. Now guard it. You didn't get here by luck. You got here because you moved differently. You listened when others laughed. You stayed when others bailed. You believed, in silence, when the volume around you was chaos. And now, you're here. Inside the mindset, inside the conviction, inside the XRP Rich List. But don't mistake this moment for a finish line. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new responsibility. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain your strategy. You don't need to chase what you already hold. You just need to guard it. Guard your peace. Guard your position. Guard your principles. Guard your quiet advantage. Because staying in the list doesn't mean more risk. It means more clarity, more silence, more intention. You've earned it. Now guard it. With posture, with patience, with power that doesn't scream, because it no longer needs to. The XRP Rich List doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the aligned. You're in. Now show the world what it looks like to protect your access like it's sacred. If this message found you in a place where you're already inside the list, then you don't need hype. You need reminders. Reminders to protect what matters, to move with discipline, to stay aligned long after the crowd forgets why this path matters. So if this spoke to you, like this episode, not for attention, but as a quiet commitment to your own focus, drop a comment not for engagement, but so the few who get it know they're not walking alone. And if you're building in silence, if you're protecting your access day by day, subscribe to XRP Today USA, not for content, for clarity. This isn't a show, it's a signal. And if you're tuned in, you've already earned your place. Now let's guard it, together.